Good morning. As we go to the Chumash, Chitas of today, we start off with the Chumash of the day. We are holding in Pashas Truma, the building of the Mishkan. We are holding in the chapter 25, verse number 31. Vasisa Menorah Zahav Taheri. You should make a menorah that's made out of pure gold. Miksha Tasa Menorah. The menorah shall be again also like the kakpedes, like the cover on the Aron. The menorah should be made out of one hammered, worked out of gold. Yerecha, its base. Yikana, its stems. Yivia, its cups. Kaftereha, its goblets. Peracheha, its knobs. Mimenu yield should be all from them. So there was, as we'll soon see, this I'm going to show you a picture. The goblets. Am I going right? Okay. The Givim, the goblets, that's a goblet. The Prachim, the knobs, and the flowers. So this was a part of the menorah as the Torah is going to continue. They all should be, Mimenu you, they all should be from it. So Rashi says, again, the meaning that it must not be made in sections, which can be removed. Its branches, its slabs, should not be individual and attached. As a customary to make a golden thing, you can't make it out of one piece of gold. It's very difficult. But you should solder it. They used to do it. They used to solder things together. You're not allowed to do that in the menorah. So the menorah comes to construct entirely from one piece of gold. It's hammered out and cut in with a tool, and the branches separate on both sides. Miksha, Rashi says, is the concept, the Aramaic translation is nugget, expression of drawing out, meaning that he draws out the part out block of gold on either side by beating it with a hammer. The word miksha means to blow with a hammer. Tasas menorah. Now the word interesting, Rashi says that the word ta'asa was made. That means that Rashi says that it was made by itself. Since Moshe Rabbeinu found a difficulty with it, figuring out how to form this menorah. It's very difficult to take a block of gold and to come with all these branches and kaftorim, these flowers and these bulbs. It was impossible. So Moshe Rabbeinu said, cast a talent equivalent to 64 pounds of gold. 64 pounds of gold. That's a kikar. Take a 64 pound of gold, throw it into the fire, and the menorah will come out to us. It will come out by itself. So Rashi translates the word that the menorah actually came out of the Eibishter. God himself made this menorah. Yerecha, what is the base? That refers to the foot of the menorah, which is made of like a box, and three legs coming out, protruding downward on the box. Again, even the legs of the menorah that the box stood upon, the base stood upon, was also all knocked out from this piece of one piece of gold. The kana, this refers to the central stem of the rising, which came in the middle of the menorah, erected upwards. At the top of it was the middle lamp. That was the Ner Hamarovi. That was the middle lamp, which is made like a spoon, in which the oil was poured and inserted, and the wick was inserted into that cup, the Givim, the goblets. Givim and Kemekoises, this was sort of cup made of glass, like long and narrow, which are called Medirins in Old French, long, slender gas goblets. These, however, were made of gold, and they were produced from the very branch, according to the numbers described in the text. They were placed in the menorah only for beauty, these goblets, as we'll see on the menorah itself, where they put these goblets. Kafterel, Rashi said there was sort of a size around like an apple. That's why they would have the word kafterel, like a fruit, around the branch, protruding outwards around the middle of the branch, in the style of a menorah made for princes. They are called pomeles in French, apple-shaped knobs. the numbers inscribed in this parsha, how many knobs protruded from how many spaces, and left a dorm between one knob and the other knob. So here you have the picture of the menorah, and you have the knobs. You see the knobs in the middle. So you have the bottom, all of the bottom, the base was a cup, and then you have like in the middle where you have knobs, then you have cups, you have a knob, and then you have the old with the menorah where you put the oil in. So the Torah is gonna it's a little bit confusing. Therefore, there's arguments in halacha, exactly the numbers, etc. Engravings made of like a sort of a flower, mimena yield. Everything shall be hammered out work, solid block of gold, and not made separately and then attached. Shisha Kani verse 22, Shisha Kani and 6 branches coming out of its size. Shloisha Kani Echad, 3 branches on one side. Shloisha Kani and 3 branches from the second side. Now she says, Lakana Kamba Achslein. This is where Rashi, the Rashi and the Rambam, as you see in this picture, some people say the menorah was round. But Rashi and the Rambam says the menorah was an achselein. It was not round. It was straight branches coming out of side these branches diagonally towards the upper. So it was not a round menorah like what most of us think it is. Rashi and the Rambam both learn that the menorah was straight branches. They came out in the middle stem, one higher than the other. The bottom was longest, and above it was shorter, and the highest was, it all came out, the 3 branches, ultimately at the top, they were all straight. Because the height of their ends on the top were equal to the height of the 7 middle breast stems. So there was all ultimately a straight 7 candles, 7 cups, which had in it 7 wicks for these 7 branches. So there was the middle one, after the Menorah of the Beis Hamikdash, there were 7 branches. Because, and it was a straight line. It was not like there was a middle, like a shamish. The middle one was taller. This all the 7 branches were equal. 3 decorative goblets on one branch. After and a knob and a flower. 3 decorative goblets on one branch, a knob, and a flower, so that the 6 branches come out from the menorah. Now she says, they were rendered, they were decorative, the manner that silver gold vessels are made, which is called in French, it's called nilo. 3 decorative goblets protruding on each branch. Each branch had a knob and a flower. And in the stand of menorah, on the menorah shall be decorated 4 goblets, 4 decorated goblets, its knobs and its flowers. That's on the stem, on the main stem of the menorah, there were 4 goblets, 1 producing on each below the branch, and 3 above the exit of the 3 branches, that each branch came out, so to say, of a goblet. Each branch came out of a goblet. As you see in this picture, each branch came out of a goblet. 1, 2, 3. This is one of the 5 verses whose meaning cannot be determined. That's why, again, as I said, it's not clearly exactly. We find different arguments in Rashi and other commentators exactly what this means. It's unknown whatever to read the decorative goblets or decorative knobs with in its flowers. It's not exactly clear in the pasuk. Verse 35. And a knob under the 2 branches from it. And a knob under the 2 branches from it. So a knob under the 2 branches from it and the 6 branches that came out of the menorah. Let me see if I can get a better picture. Here you have three different interpretations of how it looked. Top was the cup, then a knob, and three things. Or did it look like that? Three things and two knobs. So we have different interpretations exactly how it actually looked on the menorah. We'll have to wait for Mashiach to come to actually come to a conclusion. Now she says the knobs and the branches extend on two sides on either direction. This is where we learned the Braisa, Mechilta, Mishkan. The height of the menorah was 18 handbreadths. This total is derived as follows. The feet of the menorah and the lowest flower, there were 3 handbreadths. That is the flower mentioned in connection with the base. That was the first flower. As it says, to the base and to its flower. Here you have a picture. Oops, wrong way. The base, and then there was a flower on the bottom of the base. That's his first flower. So to there was 3 tvachim. The 2 handbreadths above were unadorned, and a handbreadth above that, which there was a goblet, namely one of the 4 goblets. All right, keep on going back to the picture. So here you have the picture. You see the first goblet over there. I don't know what to put my hand over here. That's what I'm talking about. You're going one to the next thing. Now she's showing you how high this thing was. Ultimately 18 handbreadths. The 2 handbreadths above there were unadorned, and a handbreadth above that there was a goblet, namely one of the 4 goblets mentioned in verse 34. And a knob and a flower, and 2 knobs and 2 flowers mentioned the connection made itself. As it says in the verse, decorated its knobs and flowers. We learned that the main stem, there were 2 knobs and 2 flowers, in addition to the 3 knobs, which were the branches extended it. As it says here, and the knobs under 2 branches. And above the lowest branch, there were 2 handbreadths unadorned. And the handbreadths, it's a shame. I couldn't find a picture that can really show it well over here, instead of holding this book up over here. And underneath the knobs, the 2 branches come out from it. 1 handbreadth on the door, unadorned, and then a handbreadth with a knob. And 2 branches that come from it, extending upwards, up to the height of the menorah. 2 handbreadths unadorned, and hence the 3 handbreadths remain. And with 3 goblets, a knob, and a flower. The goblets were found to number. So here the Rashi gives you a complete number. The goblets were found to number 22. 18 for the 6 branches of the menorah, 3 for each one, and 4 for the menorah itself, totaling 22. And there were 11 knobs, 6 on the 6 branches, 1 for each branch, 3 on the menorah itself, from which the branch is extended, and 2 more on the menorah, as it says, decorated with knobs, which means 2 knobs. Since the minimum of plural knobs is 2. 1 knob was below, next to the base, and 1 at the top, 3 handbreadths together, and 3 goblets. And the menorah had 9 flowers, 6 on the 6 branches, 1 for each branch. As it says, 1 on 1 branch, there was a knob and a flower. 3 flowers on the menorah itself. As it says, decorate its knobs and its flowers. The minimum of flowers is 2. 1 additional flower is mentioned in Parshat Vayisra, and that's in the base with that flower, the original flower I showed you. If you carefully study the Mishnah that is written above, you'll find them, the decorations of menorah according to their number, each one in their place, and you can go to the Gemara, you can go to the Mishnah, actually, and go there and see exactly the Mishnah Menachos, and you'll see exactly the outlay of this menorah. Verse 36, all the knobs and all the branches all come from the menorah, from the piece of gold. Miksha achas, it's made out of 1 hammered out piece of gold. Sov Torah, it needs to be pure gold. Shiva, You shall make the lamp seven lamps. And you shall kindle its lamps, and they shall set light towards its face. So now she says, these are sorts of cups which the oil and the wicks were put into. Namely, make the opening of the 6 lamps, which were in the top of the branches that extended from the menorah side towards the middle one. So where you put the wick was a little indentation in the top cup. So the top 6 branches, all of them should be facing the middle branch. That's the middle, the base of the menorah is the middle branch. All the 6 cups from the right and to the left, all of them need to be the candle, the wick needs to be facing the middle cup. So that when the lamp were lit, they would shed light eva paneha, towards the direction of its face. The light would be turned towards the face of the middle branch, which the body of the menorah, because the other 6 branches came out from the center branch. Verse 38, and its tongues and its scoops that were used for the menorah, zav tar, should be pure gold. Now, these are the tongues that makes the wicks from the oil, take the wicks from the oil, and to set them in the place and to draw them from the mouth of the lamp. Since they were used by taking tloichim, the wicks, them, they are called malkachayim, which is takers. It's really, those basically tongues, takers. These are kind of small cups which the kohen would scoop the ashes that the lamp every morning. There's an obligation to clean the menorah every morning. The kohen cleaned the lamps from the ashes and from the wicks of the burning during the night, and now extinguished because they put enough oil that it would last throughout the night. And these were like machtes, like a little shovels. Verse 39, Kika Zav Tar Yases, which are made of a talent of pure gold. As Kala Kela Mela, all these implements. Now she says this means that its weight, along with all its implements, shall be nothing more than a talent, no less and no more. A talent used to mundane matters for 60 mana, which the one used in the holy matters are doubled, like that's 120 mana. Again, all these numbers are all what's called, they are not the regular way that we weigh things. These were called Kikar Kodesh. That's why over here Rashi says everything that is in the holy number is really double from the mundane. The mana is a liter which is of silver weight according to the weights according to the Cologne in Cologne, France, which is equivalent to 100 gold pieces for 25 sela. For a sela is equivalent to 4 gold pieces. So this again, now she says, you take this whole calculation, a kicker in today's number would be 64 pounds of gold. The menorah and its vessels were made out of 64 pounds of gold. Go figure out how much that menorah value is today. 64 pounds of gold. But hey, gold is expensive today. But hey, and you now see and make it according to the pattern which I've shown you in the mountain. Now see on the mountain the pattern that I've shown you. This informed that Moshe had a difficulty with construction of menorah until the Holy One, blessed be, showed them menorah from fire. Ashat Mareu. Ashat Rashi says that the tiger Uklis renders it, which is shown if it was punctuated Mareh as with a patak would mean that show others. But now that it's a kametz, ma'areh, the word kametz, it means which you are shown. Chapter 26, verse number 1. Mishkan Tasa Esiyidiyas. Now the Torah goes in to the Yediyas HaMishkan, the covering over the temple. The Mishkan shall make 10 curtains. Sheish Mozhazar. 10 curtains. Now we're going to learn over here. There were three curtains. that covered the Mishkan. We're going to the first curtain that you saw actually in the Mishkan itself. You saw in the Mishkan these three curtains. And the inside of the Mishkan was, so here's a picture of the three curtains, the bottom one, the middle one, and the top. And the top was the argument if it only went over the top or went to the sides also. So this Rashi, we go with Rashi over here, that it was only in the top part of the Mishkan. So the Torah goes and explains that the curtains were made of separate things that were put together, curtains that were put together. So this is how it went. It was made the first curtain that you saw in the Mishkan itself. When you walked in, there was a menorah there, so you saw the top of the curtain. That's what you saw. It was made out of twisted fine linen. Tchelis v'agama v'slashani, made out of blue and purple and crimson wool. Shnei kruvim ma'isacheshev, a cherubim design of work of master Tasei Shemetam. What is the meaning of this? Rashi says, to be its roof and cover its walls from the outside planks. Ultimately, these curtains covered the Mishkan outside. Outside planks were gold, right? We didn't learn it yet. But the planks of the wall of the Mishkan was gold. But ultimately, you didn't see it because the curtains covered the Mishkan and the outside. Covered all the way. So you could not see the walls from the outside. If you went inside, you'd be able to see that it's gold walls. But in the outside, you only saw curtains. And it was hung from behind them also to cover them. Sheish Mashazar. Thus, these three or four kinds of materials together in each thread, one of linen and three of wool. And each thread was doubled 6 times. So this was a very heavy strands. Thus, 4 kinds of materials, when they were twisted together, yield 24 strands to a thread. Cherubim were drawn on them, the curtains, in their weave. Not with an embroidery, which is needlework, but the weaving on both sides. So here you see a picture of the weaving of the 2 kinds of actual pictures. With a lion on one side and an eagle on the other side. I was also a big talent to be able to do that each side had a different picture. One face, one side, and a face on the other side. A lion on this side and an eagle on the other side. So this was a talented thing to take all these things and to, as you're weaving it, to weave 2 pictures, 2 designs. One on one side, it was a lion, and the other side was an eagle. Which is interesting because the side that was facing the outside of the Mishkan was covered with another covering, so you didn't see it at all. The only time you saw the design was when in the Mishkan, that you saw the design that was facing inside the Mishkan. The length of one curtain shall be 28 cubits, ba'ama, and the width of one curtain was 4 cubits. So that's a curtain. Here's the picture. The curtain, one piece of curtain was 28 cubits in the length and 4 cubits in the width. You have to get that clear because now we're going to put them together. So it's 28 cubits by 4 cubits. The question is, how much is an amma? That's not a clear situation. What's the amma? It's either from the minimum of 12 inches an amma to actually some hold it's 24 inches an amma. Not exactly clear what is the exact number in an amma. So you have to go from 12 to 24. But that's where it's in between, those 2 numbers in general. So like when it says a keresh, we'll soon learn it was 10 amas, the height of the Mishkan was 10 amas. It's not clear what the 10 amas is. It's either 12 feet or up to 24 feet. So the length of the year was 28 cubits, 28 amas. Abba is 4 amas. So we take 4 amas, it's either 4 feet or 8 feet. The same measure for all the curtains. So how many curtains, separate curtains were they? You had to make 5 of these yiriyas. You're making 5 and 5. So 5 of these curtains shall be joined to another, and 5 of these curtains will be joined to another. Ash says the Betzalel would sew them with a needle, 1 curtain along another, 5 separate and 5 separate. You take 5 curtains and put it together, and 5 curtains and put it together. And that's what you have. 5 curtains together and 5 curtains together. So that means 20 amas in the width, 20 amas and 20 amas, because each curtain was 4 amas. If you have 5 curtains, you have 20 amas. Isha l'chaisei, a woman to her sister. It's customary to scripture speak in a way concerning a noun in the feminine gender and concerning a noun in the masculine gender, Isha la'achiv. Concerning the cherubim, Isha la'achiv. Over here it says Isha la'chaisa. Verse number 4. Sisa lulis. You take 5 and 5. And then you're going to connect the 5 to the 5. Now it's going to become a complete 10. These 10 curtains are going to become 1. Shall make loops of wool in the edge of 1 curtain. The 5 that you put together, make on this one. You shall make loops. The shall make the edge of the other curtain in the second set. So that Onkelos rendered a nuvim, which means about mitzvah b'chaberet, but Yiddish was saved. On the curtain that is at the most end, the group of 5 curtains is called chayveres. The chayin tasa, that you should do the edge of the Adamos curtain. On the curtain of the Adamos kitzayin, an expression derived from kotza, means the end of each curtain. Chamishim l'loish, you should make 50 loops at the edge of one curtain. The chamishim l'loish, and 50 loops at the edge of the other curtain. So the loops should be facing one another. Make 50 loops. And then you're going to put a hook in between the 2 loops. And they're going to connect the 2 curtains to 1. And that's what it was done. So Rashi says, make sure that you make the loops exactly one to the other. The measure on this curtain should be the same as its mate. When you spread the set of curtains next to the set, the loops of this curtain shall line up exactly opposite the loops of the other curtain. And that's the concept of the Aramaic translation. Neged, opposite lekabel. Each curtain had 28 cubits. Each curtain was 28 cubits long and 4 cubits its width. When the 5 curtains are joined together, it was found altogether to be 20 cubits wide. And so the second was 20 cubits. So you had altogether 40 cubits. 40 cubits of curtain when you put the 2 sets of curtains together. The length of the Mishkan was 30 cubits from east to west. So you had an extra, if you had 40 cubits and the length of the Mishkan was 30 cubits, you had an extra 10 cubits. So the length of the Mishkan was 30 cubits from east to west, as it says, 20 planks on the southern side, and so on the northern side. Each plank was a cubit and a half. Thus, we had altogether 30 cubits. And the west of the Mishkan shall make 6 planks. Thus, 2 planks in the corner, each one at the end of the eastern wall. We have 10. So the interior of the Mishkan was 10 cubits wide, not counting the northern and southern walls, which were each a cubit thick. Hence, the remainder of the 2 corners planks that did not fit against the side planks of a half a cubit each, equivalent to 1 cubit. So the 6 planks along the western wall total 9 cubits. Thus, we have altogether 10 cubits on the western side. In their respect place, I will explain these verses. The curtain was placed so that the length was across the interior width of the Mishkan. 10 of the curtains, middle cubits on the roof of the space of the width of the Mishkan. Another cubit was here, and a cubit from there that covered the thickness of the top of the planks. So those were the width of a cubit thick. So it was 30 ultimately. You had an extra 1 cubit in the front because the poles, that was a doorway to the Mishkan. So you had a little bit covering the front, and the rest hung on the back. Thus, remaining 6 cubits, 8 on the north side and 8 on the southern side, cover the height of the planks, which were 10 cubits high. Thus, the bottom 2 cubits were exposed. So now she says the back, there was left over 2 cubits, which you saw on the back of the Mishkan. And on its side, this is the picture. So that's what the Rashi is explaining. Because if you take the Mishkan in its width and its length, and you take this cover to cover it, you're going to have this equivalent left over. And that's the next cover is ultimately going to cover that also. So 30 of them on the 40 cubit with the roof of the Mishkan interior spaces. Likewise, 1 cubit corresponds to the thickness of the end of the planks of the Mishkan western side. 1 cubit was meant to cover the thickness of the pillars on the eastern side, where there were no planks of the Mishkan on the eastern side. It was open. Only 4 pillars on which the hooks of the screen were spread to make a doorway. Aside for the above 2 cubits, there remained 8 cubits that hung in the back of the Mishkan on the western side, with the bottom 2 cubits uncovered. I found this in the Braisa, in the 49 of Midas. However, in the Tractate of Shabbos, it states that the curtain did not cover the eastern pillar, and the 9 cubits hung in the back. So the question is, did the curtain go all the way and cover the pillars that were the doorway or not? It's a machlekes in the Gemara. And now she says, each person, you can ultimately come to a conclusion. Go and open the Gemara, the Mishnah, and you'll see to how it was calculated. Vasisa chamisha kaisei zav, then you shall make 50 golden clasps. And then you fasten the 2 curtains together, each isha lachaisa, one to the other. Then the Mishkan becomes one. The Rashi's golden clasp, they were on each end of the loop. You put a clasp. The clasp united these 2 humongous curtains. Now, on top of that, on top of that covering of the Mishkan, you made another cover, a curtain of goat hair. This was made not 10 curtains, but Ashte Esther Yedius. It was made 11 curtains. I'm sorry, Tasa Isa. So now you have an extra 4 amas of curtain on the second curtain, on the second cover, on the second roof. These were made out of goats here. Mishkan to spread over the lower curtains. So these were also longer. The length of the curtain was 30 cubits, not. And the width of it was as before, 4 cubits. This was exactly for the 11 curtains. Now she says, when Moshe Rabbeinu placed the curtains, length, of course, the width of the Mishkan, as he did with the first curtain, these were found to exceed. It would overhang the first curtain. and it covered the first curtain. And I'll show you a picture. So this one, it covered totally till the Adonim, and in the back, it actually went past the Mishkan. So it was bigger to cover over that you didn't see the gold at all. In the previous one, you had an amma to see the gold. But this Yirias Izim, this cover of goats here, covered ultimately that gold also. And the only thing you saw was the Adonim, was those sockets on the two sides of the Mishkan, but the back was totally covered. Verse number 9 is you connect the 5 together and the 6 together. You shall fold the 6th curtain from the front before the front of the tent. Now she says, of these upper curtains which exceed, overhang the lower ones. Now she says half of its width of the 6th curtain was hanging and folded over the screen of the eastern side of the Mishkan before the entrance. That it covered over. Show you a picture. It covered over. Oops. Nope. That's what a picture I wanted to show you. It covered over the front of the Mishkan. It covered it over with a like a resembling a modest bride whose face is covered with a veil. Again, Vasis Chamishim Lois, you shall make 50 loops, connecting the 5 and the 6 together. The edge of one curtain. Saying 50 loops against the other side of the curtain. So these were not made out of gold. This was made out of the clasp that united them together, was made out of copper. Put the clasp and it's loose. You shall connect the entire tent. It shall become one. And the overhanging excess in the curtain of the tent, the half of the extra curtain shall hang over the rear of the Mishkan. So ultimately, it went down as you saw the picture before, and it went on the ground itself. It covered over the entire back of the Mishkan. So the curtain of the Mishkan, the curtain of the tent, were upper ones. I'll go here. They're referred to as a tent, as it's written in the tent of the Mishkan. Every expression tent, oil, stated in this context refers to the upper curtains, oathly an expression meaning roof, for they form the tent and roof over the lower curtains. They, the upper curtain, exceeded the lower curtain by a half a curtain and the western side, since the extra of the 11th curtain was opposite the front of the tent. Hence, the remaining 2 cubits representing the width of the half of it of the upper curtain exceeded the width of the lower curtain by 2 cubits. Tisrach ala oidef. Sorry. Shall hang over the rear of the Mishkan to cover 2 cubits of the planks that are exposed. Acha Mishkan, this is the western side, since the entrance of the Mishkan was in the eastern side, as referred to as the side right and the left. And the cubit from here and a cubit from there of the axis of length of the curtain. So hang an extra cubit on each side, because this was each side. The previous was 28 cubits. This was 30 cubits. So you had an extra cubit, each side covered over a cubit onto the right side of the north side and on the south side. So the northern side and the south, which exceeded the length of the lower curtains by 2 cubits, because the lower curtains had 28 cubits and the upper curtain had 30 cubits. On the north and the southern side, explained above, Torah taught us in a manner which you should spare the beautiful as known, and it can go into the Medrash. So ultimately, in essence, the inner curtains was totally covered You could not see the inner curtains from the outside of Beis Hamikdash. It was totally covered on all its sides. Only way you could see the beauty of this curtain is by going into the Mishkan itself. And now we're going to the third cover. And you shall make a third covering over the tent of meeting. And this was the ram skins, the beautiful cover. And this is what it's talking about. It had 3 different parts to it, and this was on top of the Mishkan. So this was made out of oilless elam, the daman, covered the tent with ram skins, dyed red, and a covering of this tchashim, this beautiful tchashim, the animal that Rashi says was only there for the time, a animal that had many colors to it, was on top of it. So Rashi says for the roof of the goat hair curtain, make an additional covering of ram skins dyed red. Additionally, above it, place a covering of tchashim skin. These 2 coverings covered only the roof. Their length being 30 cubits, their width 10 cubits. So that's how Rashi learns it, that this third covering that was made out of three different parts will only cover the top of the Mishkan, which was 30 amas by 10 amas. These are Rabbi Nehemiah's words, but according to Rabbi Yehuda, there were only 1 covering. Half of it made out of ram skin, dyed red, and half of it made out of tchashim. So there's an argument between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nehemiah, how it was done. The bottom picture is Rabbi Yehuda, the top picture is Rabbi Nehemiah. Was it 2 different pieces? Was it 1 piece? You can go learn the Gemara and see these 2 rabbis who argued on this subject. But that completes the Chumash for today. We're going out to the Tanya today. We continue the chapter 27 of Tanya. Alter Rebbe is talking about, again, a person who has troubled thoughts in his daytime, and he has these bothering thoughts that bother him, that don't let him in the service, and he might think that these thoughts that he has, that why does he have these thoughts? The Alter Rebbe says that he has these thoughts because he's not a tzaddik. He's not a righteous person. And since he's not a righteous person, and halavai beinini, everybody should wish to be a middleman. So therefore, we are all going to have naturally thoughts that shouldn't be and we shouldn't think during our day. Why? Because we, Baruch Hashem, have eyes that see, and we have a heart that feels, and therefore we have a mitzvah in the Torah. The Torah tells us, therefore we say it on davening every day. We should not follow the ways, what our eyes see and what our heart desires. The Alter Rebbe said, if you were a tzaddik, if I was a tzaddik, I would not be worried about that, because my eyes will not follow anything but godliness, and my heart will only desire godliness. But that I desire, I see something in the physical world that creates a desire in my heart. That's a natural situation. And the mitzvah is to, the second it comes from the heart to the mind, is to push it away. As the Alter Rebbe says, b'shtei yadayim, push it away with both of my hands. And then I do a mitzvah. By pushing it away, I've done the mitzvah which I said in the Shema in the morning or in the evening. And with every repulsion, which he pushes away from his mind, is kafir sitra achra tat. The sitra achra is suppressed here below in this world. That's what happens in this world. Every time I push away from my thought, a thought of evil, a thought of desire which is ungodly, every time I push it away, I push it. Not only do I do something for myself, I overcome my own desires. I push it. Zoya says every time I overcome my own desires, I push it, break sitrach in this world. I break the sitrach, the suppress the evil in the world. And since the arousal from below, in our case, the initiative of a Beini in suppressing the sitrach produces a corresponding arousal from above. These are Kabbalistic words. Asrusa delatata, an awakening from below, creates an awakening from above. Vishapcha sitra achla deleila. And the sitra achla, the supernal above, the supernal worlds, which is the root for the sitra achla in this world. Hamagbiya aspect kenesha, which soars like an eagle, is also suppressed. L'kayim mashenemer. We should realize, in essence, whatever happens in this world, why does Klippa is so strong in this world? Why is evil so strong in this world? Is because it has its corresponding power milamaila. So in above, its spiritual counterpart in the Klippa Selyanus, in the upper worlds of Klippa. So therefore, as you learned, when you say Yaakov Avinu fought with the angel, he fought with the angel of Esav. So Esav in this world has an angel in the upper worlds. When he won the angel in the upper worlds, because he was ready to confront the angel Esav in this world, ultimately overcame both of them. That's why the angels told him, that you have to overcome this world, because by overcoming this world, you overcome the spiritual counterpart. And that's why it says, though you soar aloft like an eagle, the evil might soar because it's for whatever reason, humans are giving the capability for evil to soar. But if you stop it, you bring it down, you bring Klippas down in your small world, I will bring down from there, says, I'll bring down Klippas in the upper world. And as in the Zohar, in the portion of Truma is written, how great the Nachas Ruach, God, divine satisfaction. When the Sitra Achra is subdued here below, a person shouldn't think, what am I doing already? I'm overcoming a desire. What's so big about overcoming my small desire? What is the big thing? Tells us the Zohar. Comes the Zohar and says you should realize that your small move in this world is a big move in the upper worlds, in the spiritual worlds. Because when a Jew does a skafia, overcomes a desire, it might be a small thing, but he overcomes it. And he overcomes his own tivus, his own desires in the world. He overcomes a negative thing. It arises, the glory of God arises above all. Yes, and more than any other praises. And this ascends in a greater than all else. Meaning that all the praises that the Malachim give the Eibishter, all the praises that the Malachim, which we know the Malachim are billions of angels, the Gemara says above, and that's all they do is praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the Eibishter waits for one aspect of a Yid to overcome his Nefesh HaBahamis. The Eibishter, God's waiting for one concept of one simple Jew to overcome his Yetzer Hara, and that overcoming of a Jew, that a Jew overcomes his animalistic soul, his own nature, his own tivus, his own desires. That is more satisfaction to the Eibishter more than all the praises of above. That's what the Zayah says. Because of above, what's revealed is only a that comes into the world, and it comes into each world that through the praise of an angel. When a Jew breaks himself over here in this world and overcomes a simple thing, don't follow what your eye sees. Don't follow the desire of your hearts. Not that your eye sees it. That's human nature. What are you going to do? You're going to start walking with sunglasses. You're going to start covering your eyes. You're going to fall into a ditch if you're going to cover your eyes. So you need to have your eyes open. You need to see where you're walking and see where you're going. So you're going to see things. And the second you're going to see it, you're automatically going to have a thought about it, what you saw. That moment, when I push it away, with both my hands, that moment, the Eibishter receives, the Zohar says, God reveals a light in the upper worlds that is above and beyond the concept of lights that come into each world separately. This is what's called in Zohar, Oir HaSoiveh. It's an encompassing light. It's a light that's above Mamala Kalam. It's a light. It's a transcendent light that comes. That's a Nachas Ruach. That's why the expression that the Gemara says, Nachas Ruach Sha'amarti v'nafsu l'tzaini. I have a Nachas Ruach that I asked you, but the Eibishter gave me my nature. Because you think about it, when the Torah says Leisasuru, I said it today in the morning when I said the Shema, don't follow your eyes or who gave me my nature that I do follow my eyes? Is the Eibishter gave me that nature that I see things, and automatically when I see things, I might want it. My heart will say I might want it. Then maybe I'll push. But the Eibishter says, you know what? The second I push it away, that's that I said this verse in the Torah. I asked you, please push it away, your natural desires, push away your natural wants, and you did it. I understand what means asarusa de la tata. My little move in this world that I pushed it away. Why? Because the Eibishter said so. I want it. Why should I get it? If I want it, I should get it. No. I decide, since God asked me to push it away, I'm going to push it away. Why? Not because I want to push it away. I really want it. That's the Beinani. The Beinani is Nefesh HaBaham. It says, we want it. We want it. It's good for us. We want it. But I push it away. I say, you know what? I want it, but the Eibishter says I don't need it. That is where the Eibishter receives his greatest nachas, the Zohar says. That's where the Eibishter receives his ultimate joy, his delight, nachas. Thus, it is the evil thought which enters the mind of the Beinani that enables them to fulfill God's command in averting his attention from them, thereby subduing the Sitra Achra. So if you understand this, therefore, don't be sad. Don't be depressed that you have natural thoughts. Don't be troubled that you have evil thoughts naturally that come into your mind. He ought to be somewhat troubled by the occurrence of these, but otherwise he may become indifferent to them and will cease to wage war against them. But he ought to be not to be solely troubled by them. He should he should realize that he has to push it off. Even though he's engaged all his days in this conflict. This might be a conflict for him forever. Unless he becomes a tzaddik, changes his nefesh habahamis. I'm always going to have the struggle. I'm always going to have the moment desire. I'm always going to have the eye that's going to look at something and want it. though he may never rise to a level which precludes their occurrences. He should not be depressed. Why? Because that's what he came to the world for. He came to the world for this struggle. And this is why he came to the world. This was his service. This hapra sitra achra tamid, to subdue the sitra achra constantly all the days of my life. And this is what Eve said, Barasi Rashayim, you have created wicked men. As though it was preordained that one man be wicked and another be righteous. So remember this statement. This statement we mentioned in the first chapter of Tanya. We're holding chapter 27, but this statement was mentioned in the beginning of Tanya. The first chapter, the Alter Rebbe pointed out that this contradicts the statement of the Gemara that every child, before a child is born, God decrees whether be wise, foolish, strong, weak, and so on, but does not determine whether it be righteous or wicked. This is left to one's own choice. So the meaning of Job's statement becomes clear, however, in the light of the above discussion. True God does not ordain whether a man act wickedly, but he does create wicked men in the sense that their minds worth like minds of a rasha. That's the point. We all have that moment of wickedness. We all have the natural desire to think negative. That's our disposition. That's the way we were created, with evil thoughts constantly occurring to them. That's the meaning of the pasuk. God created them in this way, so they'll engage in battle with these thoughts and thereby subject it to Sitra. The Eibishter had a avodah for all of us. And that was God wanted to elevate the world. That's what we learned that the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Sav HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Eibishter had a desire by the creating of this world, that did it b'tartenim. So we'll be able to dwell in this world. How can he dwell in this world with so much Sitra Achra? How can he dwell in the world with so much impurities in this world? The opposite of godliness. Who's going to deal with it if not people that have that desire of opposite of godliness? So we are here. We are the Marines. We are the guys, the foot soldiers. We are the men who do the Machama. And we should be proud of that. It's a struggle. But we should be proud of this struggle, because through this struggle, we're going to win this war. And we're going to transform the world. Who transforms the world? The foot soldier. That's the one who wins the war. So therefore, he said, Barasa Rashayim, you created wicked, so to say, the capability of people to do wickedness in this world. Majority of people in the world have the capacity, because they're not tzaddikim, have the capacity of doing wickedness in this world. Even a Beinim have the capacity of doing wickedness in this world. But the Eibush didn't say that you should be wicked. The implication of years stating not that they should be wicked. God forbid. They shouldn't think evil. They shouldn't speak evil. They shouldn't do evil. But that they should occur to them in their thoughts and musing alone that which occurs to wicked people. The difference between them and a wicked person continues the thought. A Baini pushes away the thought. Meaning that evil thoughts should enter their mind as it do in the mind of wicked. And a Baini shall eternally wage a war. To push it off. And you might say, I'm going to push it off to this minute, it's going to come next minute again. And I'm going to have to be constantly in this world. But I'm doing it for one reason. I'm not only doing it for myself, the pushing off of this machshava. It's not only about myself. It's about Kedes Chapcha Sitra Achra. I'm fighting the war of God. I'm not only fighting my personal Yetzer Hara, my personal animalistic soul. This is not a personal battle. This is not about me. This machshava zara is because Sitra Achra, is because of the transformation of the world. The Eibishter gave each and every one of us an unbelievable job. An unbelievable job. The Eibishter gave each and every one of us that we think that this challenge we have is a personal challenge. No, this challenge we have is the challenge of HaKadosh Baruch Hu with the world. The Eibishter wants to transform the world. And therefore, he gives me personal little challenges, personal things to overcome, personal natural tendencies, natural desires, natural taivas, delights, natural evil tendencies. Why? Because he wants to give me he's changing the world. He's transforming the world. And that's the power. That's the point of this whole this struggle. The Sapcha Sitra Achra, in order to subjugate the Sitra Achra, because my little Sitra Achra is garnished. My little desire is garnished, is nothing. But as Isaiah says, my little desire breaks the Sitra Achra in this world and in the upper worlds and brings about an unbelievable light to the world. And that's why I should do it. I should overcome my little desire to realize the unbelievable revelation that happens in the world. The Nachas Ruach, that the Eibishter, the Nachas Ruach that God receives, because I'm doing God's work. It's not my mom, not my little self. And therefore, you cannot be mevatel it, because it's a big war. So overcoming my small clipper doesn't mean that I've overcome clippers. It's going to happen again. The clipper is going to come again because I not eradicated clipper. I overcame it. I didn't eradicate the clipper. I just overcome the clipper. I overcome the desire. Desire is still there in the world. The desire for this evil thought is still there in the world. That's done through tzaddikim. The Eibishter will one day eradicate impurity from the world. My avodah is to eradicate my little impurity. You might think it's nothing. The Alter Rebbe says, based on the Zohar, it's a big thing. Because that, when I reveal godliness in the world and God's purpose in the world, the Eibishter will eradicate impurity from the world. Yet they'll never be able to annihilate Sitra Achra in their souls completely, because that is accomplished with tzaddikim. So a tzaddik subjugates his animal soul to the degree that it's unable to arouse temptation in his heart. His mind is therefore untroubled by evil thoughts, and that's not going to happen. So the Alter Rebbe says, think about again, going back to what he said yesterday. So therefore, you'll know that you'll have another mitzvah. So Surah is not completed by this overcoming this one thought. You're going to have a thought in 10 minutes from now. You'll overcome it again. You'll do the mitzvah again. You might do this mitzvah many, many times during the day. And think about it, that I was zeicha to give the Eibishter Nachas Ruach many, many times during this day. So therefore, as we learn Chassidus, we all learn that we do Torah mitzvahs l'shma. We should learn Torah mitzvah l'shma. What is l'shma and Torah mitzvah? It's not about me, but about the Eibishter. What does the Eibishter want in Torah mitzvahs? What does the Eibishter want in I shouldn't follow my desires of my heart? What does God want? Besides what I'm gaining out of it, what does the Eibishter gain out of it? The Eibishter is Nachas Ruach. I gain a great pleasure. That means there's a great gain by God. My gain that I gain out of not doing a sin or not having an evil thought is in comparison to the gain that happens, Lamaila, that the Eibishter has, that God himself has from my small gain. And that's why I should do it. That should be the focus of why I should be able to overcome and not feel depressed that I'm going to have the thought again. I'm going to have the thought again. I might continue to have this thought, even if I push it off. I'm going to have the thought again. I'm going to have the thought again. Those whoever Job said that were in the created wicked cannot rise to this level. And as the Alter Rebbe said, a person ain't a makim mekayim. He started off the Tanya, this chapter, that we have to know who we are, and we're not tzaddikim. If you were a tzaddik, you would know you're a tzaddik, and maybe you are. I'm talking to myself. I'm not a tzaddik, and therefore I'm going to have this thought again, and I'm going to have the thought even after I subjugate it and I push it off. I'm going to have it again, whether it's the same thought or another thought. It's going to come again. And I need to push it off again. And this might be my Aveda my whole life. My whole life. But that's what I was created for. I was created for this Aveda. I was brought down to the world for this Aveda, to go into the world, especially those that are in business and those that do worldly matters. So they're mamish in the world, and they're going to see things, and they're going to hear things, and they're going to get involved with things that are might be the opposite of holiness, and they got to learn to subjugate it. They have to learn to overcome it. They have to learn that they need to, and that's why they daven every morning. That's why we said Moshe Rabbeinu begged the Yidden every morning to say the Shema before you go to work. Say the Shema. Understand what you're saying. When you said understand what you're saying. That every time that something comes to your eyes or something comes to my thought, I should right away push it away. Don't follow it. Push it away. And by pushing it away, not only be good for you, self-understood, because you're going to overcome something you shouldn't do. Your Pashut going to reveal a godly force in this world that's going to transform the world. That's going to ultimately transform the world. And it's going to break clip in this world, the darkness of this world. And every time I push off, the Zayah says, I push off a thought, my gang might think it's a small thing because I'm not doing anything. I actually didn't do the thing. I pushed it off. But that small push off of that thought is doing this mitzvah of like surah. Do not follow the desires of your heart. And the desire, what you see, brings down an Elokee, brings down a light of God in this world. That's the light of Sefer Kolam, which will ultimately transform this world. So we are the workers of the day, as the Rebbe would always say, Anan Polo, the Imam Anan. We are the workers of the day, meaning our job is to bring light to the world. And it's a very unbelievable job because we bring the light of God into the world. And we accomplish it, by doing good and doing what is right and doing mitzvahs, and also by pushing away our thoughts, by pushing simply overcoming the thought that comes from my heart or that comes from my eyes, and I push it away. That alone creates an unbelievable revelation of you are the workers of the day. And that completes the Tanya of today. Today is the 4th day of the month, which starts at chapter 23 to chapter 28 in Tillim. And you would accomplish the Pitas of the day. So I want to invite everybody, whether you signed up to this class or not, you should come to this wonderful class that we're giving at 7:30, Advice for Life. Truly an amazing class that was put together by JLI. For the many of the letters of the Rebbe's attitude in many different things in life. And it's truly a phenomenal class. Truly a phenomenal, and many videos are going to be there tonight. Truly one of the most beautiful classes of the JLI. And tonight it's going to be about health. That's the class tonight. The 3rd class is tonight about health. And it's truly beautiful way the Rebbe thought about health and how the Rebbe looked at the world. And as you know, the Rebbe was both very, we're pragmatic. He was very extremely down to earth, and at the same time, he connected everything to godliness. There was no separation by him between the physical and the spiritual. He was a real tzaddik who understood that by him, everything, the physical and the spiritual, were the same. They were actually totally the same. And it's truly beautiful how the Rebbe expressed himself concerning health issues. Many of us, either ourselves or our family members, we struggle through health. And you should come to this class. It's going to be at Chabad or on Zoom and see what the Rebbe said about health. It's truly a phenomenal class. 7:30 tonight. Invite you all. Come and learn. See the Rebbe's attitude in these aspects. Through the letters of the Rebbe, this is a class based on the letters of the Rebbe that the Rebbe wrote over the many years to thousands of people concerning his advice to them. God bless you all, my friends. Have a wonderful and beautiful day. And Mir Shem will surely see you all tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Continue the chitas of the day. Have a wonderful day.